What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actresses walks into what should be a lighthearted morning chat show, only to be ambushed by a host who seems determined to tear her down on live television? It only took 45 seconds for Lorraine Kelly to make a comment so shocking, so deeply personal, that it set off a chain of events no one in that studio could have predicted. This is the story of how a breakfast television staple became the setting for one of the most uncomfortable and explosive interviews ever broadcast. The morning started like any other on The Lorraine Show. The studio lights were bright, flooding the set with that artificial warmth that morning television does so well. The audience was settled in their seats, about 70 people, all excited to be there, clutching their phones, ready to capture every moment. The familiar purple and orange set design gave off that warm, welcoming glow that viewers had come to expect over the years. Kate Winslet walked onto the stage wearing a simple navy dress, elegant but understated, her hair styled in loose waves that framed her face. Her smile was genuine as she waved to the audience, and they applauded warmly. She had been on countless talk shows before, promoting films, discussing her craft, always gracious and thoughtful in her responses. This was supposed to be another easy appearance, another pleasant conversation to promote her latest project. Lorraine Kelly stood from her chair, arms extended for a hug, but there was something different in her expression, something that didn't quite reach her eyes, something almost calculating, like a chess player who had already planned out the next 5 moves. The two women embraced briefly, and as they did, Kate felt the stiffness in Lorraine's posture, the perfunctory nature of the gesture. It was the kind of hug you give when cameras are watching, but your heart isn't in it. Kate took her seat on the cream-colored sofa, crossing her legs and settling in with the ease of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. She adjusted her dress slightly, smiled at the audience again, and waited for the interview to begin. The stage manager gave a countdown with his fingers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Kate Winslet, everyone, Lorraine announced to the applause of the studio audience. She returned to her own chair, leaning back with a confidence that bordered on swagger. To her left sat 2 other regular panelists, Jenny and Marcus, both fixtures on the show, both looking eager to be part of what they assumed would be a delightful interview. Jenny was a lifestyle contributor, always bubbly and positive. Marcus was the entertainment correspondent, known for his wit and charm. They had their notes in front of them, questions prepared, ready to jump in with their own angles when the time was right. "So lovely to have you here," Lorraine began, but her tone carried an edge that Kate immediately registered. It wasn't warm. It wasn't welcoming. It was something else entirely. Something that made Kate's media, trained instincts suddenly go on alert. "Thank you for having me," Kate replied, keeping her smile in place. "I'm excited to talk about the film." Yes, we'll get to that," Lorraine said, waving her hand as if the film was an afterthought. "But first I have to say, Kate, you look different from the last time we saw you." Kate's smile remained, though her eyes showed a flicker of confusion. Different? What did that mean? It was such a loaded word, especially when discussing a woman's appearance on television. "Thank you, Lorraine. It's good to be here." No, Lorraine continued, waving her hand dismissively, a slight smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. "I mean, you look different. Bigger, if I'm being honest. Have you put on weight?" The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Jenny's eyes widened. Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Several audience members gasped audibly. The studio fell silent. Even the audience members who had been chatting amongst themselves, sharing their excitement about seeing a real movie star in person, went completely quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. The camera operators looked at each other, uncertain. This wasn't in the script. This wasn't normal. Jenny and Marcus exchanged uncomfortable glances, both of them suddenly wishing they were anywhere else. Kate's expression shifted. the warmth draining from her face like water from a tub. Her professional smile faltered, replaced by genuine shock. "I'm sorry," she said slowly, carefully, giving Lorraine a chance to backtrack, to laugh it off, to say she was joking. "What did you just say?" But Lorraine didn't backtrack. Instead, she leaned forward, a fake sympathy plastered across her features, the kind of expression that pretends to be concerned, but is actually enjoying every second of someone else's discomfort. "Oh, don't be offended, darling. I'm just saying what everyone at home is thinking. You've put on a bit of weight, haven't you? It's noticeable. I mean, we all saw you in that film last year, and now, well, there's definitely more of you. I'm just being observant. It's what we do in television, isn't it? We observe." Kate sat very still, her hands now gripping the edge of the sofa cushion. The smile was completely gone. "Lorraine, I'm going to give you a moment to realize what you just said, and perhaps rephrase it." "Rephrase what?" Lorraine asked innocently, as if she genuinely didn't understand the problem. "I'm just making conversation. We're having a chat. That's what this show is, isn't it? A chat. Commenting on someone's body, especially a woman's body, on national television is not a chat," Kate said, her voice measured but with steel underneath. "It's inappropriate. It's hurtful. And frankly, Lorraine, it's quite cruel." Lorraine's face hardened. The fake sympathy disappeared, replaced by something colder. "Cruel? Oh, come on now. Don't be so sensitive. We're all adults here. I complimented you first, didn't I? I said you looked different. That could mean anything. Except you clarified exactly what you meant," Kate pointed out, her voice getting stronger. "You said bigger. You asked if I'd put on weight. Those aren't neutral observations, Lorraine. Those are judgments." "Lorraine," Marcus interjected carefully, setting down his notes. His voice was gentle, trying to defuse the situation. "Maybe we should talk about Kate's new film. I'm sure our viewers would love to hear about it." "We'll get to that when I'm ready," Lorraine snapped, not taking her eyes off Kate. The mask was slipping now. Whatever had been driving her to make that initial comment was pushing her to double down rather than back off. "I'm just making an observation, Marcus. We're all friends here, aren't we? I mean, Kate, you've always been so open about body image issues in the past. You've talked about the pressure in Hollywood. Surely you can handle a little honest conversation about it." Kate's jaw tightened visibly. "There's a difference between me choosing to discuss my own experiences on my own terms and you ambushing me with personal comments about my appearance when I came here to talk about my work." "Ambushing?" Lorraine laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. It was harsh, dismissive. "You're being dramatic." Kate sat up straighter, her posture now rigid with barely contained anger. Her hands folded deliberately in her lap, a gesture of control when everything in her wanted to simply walk out right then and there. "Lorraine, commenting on someone's body, especially a woman's body, on national television is not honest conversation. It's inappropriate and frankly quite rude, and you know that. You're a journalist. You're a professional. You know exactly what you're doing." "Oh, here we go," Lorraine said, rolling her eyes dramatically for the camera. "The Hollywood lecture. You know, Kate, not everyone has the luxury of being sensitive about every little comment. Some of us live in the real world where people say what they think. The real world where we treat each other with respect, where we don't make personal attacks on people we've invited onto our shows. That real world." Jenny shifted in her seat, her discomfort visible. She cleared her throat softly. "I think what Kate is saying is perfectly reasonable, Lorraine. Maybe we should move on to discussing her work." "Stay out of this, Jenny," Lorraine shot back, her voice sharp. "I'm conducting this interview. Me, not you. If this is how you conduct interviews, perhaps I shouldn't be here at all," Kate said. The audience gasped. This was not the polite exchange they had expected. This was real tension, real conflict, unfolding before their eyes with no script. "Don't be so dramatic," Lorraine said with a dismissive laugh. You celebrities are all the same. You want us to fawn all over you, but the moment someone tells you a home truth, you throw a tantrum. A home truth? Kate's voice was incredulous. You insulted my appearance within the first minute of me sitting down. That's not truth-telling, Lorraine. That's bullying. That's using your platform to make someone feel small. Bullying? Lorraine's face flushed red. Try being a working-class woman in this industry, clawing your way up while privileged actresses like you get everything handed to them on a silver platter. Marcus tried again to intervene. Lorraine, I really think we need to take a breath here. No, Marcus, I'm tired of tiptoeing around these people, Lorraine continued, her voice getting louder. They come on our show, expect us to kiss their feet, and the moment we ask a real question, we're the bad guys. Kate stood up, the movement sharp and decisive. I have never asked anyone to kiss my feet. I came here to talk about a film that I'm incredibly proud of, that my crew worked so hard on. I did not come here to be body shamed on live television. Sit down, Lorraine commanded, pointing at the sofa. We're not finished. Yes, I do, Kate replied, her voice steady. I will not sit here and allow you to speak to me this way, and I won't let you model this kind of behavior for your audience, especially the young women who might be watching. Lorraine's face went from red to almost purple. You don't get to tell me what kind of behavior to model. This is my show, mine. And if you can't handle a bit of reality, then maybe you should stick to your Hollywood bubble. Reality? Kate's voice carried across the studio. The reality is that you've built a career on being approachable and kind, and right now, you're showing everyone exactly how false that image is. You're being cruel, and there's a massive difference. Jenny stood up, her chair scraping loudly. She moved closer to Kate, her face showing anger and solidarity. Kate's right. This has gone too far. I've been trying to stay out of it, but I can't. I can't watch this happen and say nothing. You shut your mouth, Lorraine snapped at Jenny, her finger pointing accusingly. I don't need you defending her. I'm not defending anyone, Jenny said, her voice growing stronger. I'm calling out what's wrong. This isn't journalism. This isn't even good television. It's just you being nasty for no reason. The audience members were completely silent now, frozen in their seats. Their heads were swiveling between the women like spectators at a tennis match, trying to catch every word, every expression. Some had their phones out, clearly recording what was happening. The footage would be online within minutes. The camera operators looked uncertain, glancing at each other and then at the director's booth, unsure whether they should keep filming or cut away to something, anything else. Mean? Lorraine laughed bitterly, but it was a sound devoid of humor. I'll tell you what's mean. Coming onto a show that has welcomed countless guests over the years, expecting special treatment, acting like you're better than everyone else, and then having the audacity to lecture me about how to do my job. I have never acted like I'm better than anyone, Kate said, her voice cutting through the chaos with clarity. But I do expect basic human decency, basic respect, basic kindness. And clearly, Lorraine, that's too much to ask from you today. I don't know what's going on in your life that made you decide to do this, but I'm not going to be your punching bag. Marcus stood as well now, holding his hands up in a placating gesture. The situation was spiraling, and he knew it. Everyone, please, can we just calm down for a moment? Can we take 5 minutes, reset, and start again? There's nothing to calm down about, Kate said, though her breathing was measured, controlled. She was upset, yes, but she wasn't out of control. She wasn't the one who had lost the plot here. I'm leaving. I'm walking out of the studio, and I'm not coming back. Fine, leave, Lorraine spat, her composure completely gone now. All pretense of professionalism had evaporated. Run away. That's what people like you do when you can't control the narrative, isn't it? When things don't go exactly the way you want them to. You just leave. Kate turned to face Lorraine directly, and when she spoke, her words were slow and deliberate, each one carefully chosen. I'm not running away, Lorraine. Running away is what you do when you're afraid. I'm choosing not to participate in whatever this is. There's a fundamental difference between leaving because you're scared and leaving because you have self-respect. Self-respect, Lorraine mocked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Is that what we're calling it now? Self-respect? What would you call it? Kate challenged, her eyes never leaving Lorraine's. Sitting here while you insult me? Smiling and nodding while you try to tear me down for reasons I can't even begin to understand? Letting you use me as some kind of example to make yourself feel better? No, thank you. I've spent too many years fighting against exactly this kind of treatment to tolerate it now. I've been in this industry for decades. I've dealt with criticism, with scrutiny, with pressure, but I've never had a host attack me like this. Fighting? Lorraine's voice dripped with sarcasm. What fights have you ever had to fight, Kate? Really? You've been handed everything. You were in Titanic, for heaven's sake. You became a superstar overnight. What struggles do you know? Kate's expression softened slightly, but not with sympathy, with sadness. You don't know anything about my life, Lorraine. You don't know what I've had to overcome, what I've had to prove time and time again, what I've had to sacrifice to be here. And frankly, you've made it very clear that you don't care to know. You don't care about me as a person. You just wanted someone to attack, and I happen to be the one sitting on your sofa today. Oh, I know enough, Lorraine retorted, her voice getting shriller. I know that you waltz in here with your designer dress and your perfect hair and your successful career, and you expect us all to bow down and worship you. I expected a professional interview, Kate corrected, her voice still steady despite everything. That's all. Just basic professionalism. Just the courtesy that any guest on any show should expect. And you couldn't even manage that. You couldn't even be civil for 30 minutes. Jenny moved to Kate's side, her hand gently touching Kate's arm in a gesture of solidarity. Do you want me to walk out with you? Kate looked at her, genuinely surprised by the gesture. In this moment of ugliness, here was an act of kindness. Some of the hardness in her face softened. That's very kind of you, Jenny. But you don't have to do that. You have your job to think about. I want to, Jenny said firmly, her voice stronger than before. This isn't right. What's happening here isn't right, and I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to sit here and watch it continue. Lorraine's face contorted with anger, her features twisting into something almost unrecognizable. Jenny, if you walk off this set, don't bother coming back. Do you hear me? You walk out that door with her, and you're done. Finished. I'll make sure of it. Jenny paused for only a moment, and in that moment, everyone in the studio held their breath. The weight of the decision hung in the air. This was her job, her livelihood, her career. But it was also her integrity, her values, her sense of right and wrong. She looked at Lorraine, then at Kate, then back at Lorraine. Then she straightened her shoulders, standing taller. Then I guess I won't be coming back, will I? The audience gasped again, louder this time. Several people actually stood up in their seats. This wasn't just an uncomfortable interview anymore. This was a full-scale rebellion, happening live, with no script and no safety net. This was people choosing their principles over their paychecks, choosing dignity over compliance. You're both making a huge mistake, Lorraine warned, but her voice had lost some of its power. She was realizing, perhaps for the first time, that she had pushed too far, that she had miscalculated terribly. The anger was still there, but underneath it now was something that looked almost like fear. No, Kate said calmly, her voice carrying clearly through the silent studio. You made the mistake, Lorraine. You could have had a lovely conversation today. You could have asked about my work, about my creative process, about the incredible talented people I got to work with on this film. You could have talked about the themes of the story, about the challenges of the production, about anything meaningful or interesting. Instead, you chose to make it personal. You chose to make it ugly. You chose to attack me for no reason that makes any sense. That was your choice, not mine. Marcus remained standing, but didn't move toward the door. His face showed his internal conflict clearly, torn between loyalty to the show he'd been part of for years and recognition that what was happening was fundamentally wrong. His hands gripped the back of his chair, knuckles white. "Marcus," Lorraine said, her tone suddenly desperate, almost pleading. Tell them they're overreacting. Tell them this is all being blown out of proportion." Marcus looked at the floor, then at Kate, then at Jenny, then finally at Lorraine. He took a long breath. "I think," he said slowly, choosing his words carefully, "that everyone needs some space right now. Some time to think about what just happened." "That's not an answer," Lorraine demanded, her voice sharp again. "I need you to back me up here, Marcus." "It's the only answer I have," Marcus replied quietly. "It's the only honest answer I can give." Kate picked up her handbag from beside the sofa, her movements deliberate and unhurried. She was not going to scurry away like someone who had done something wrong. She was not going to rush out like she'd been caught in some scandal. She would leave with dignity, with her head high, making it clear through her body language that she had nothing to be ashamed of. "You know what the sad thing is?" Kate said, turning back to Lorraine one last time. "I actually used to like your show. I used to watch it sometimes when I was in the UK. I used to think you were genuine, that you really cared about your guests and your audience. I thought you were one of the good ones. But this showed me exactly who you really are when the cameras are rolling and you think you can get away with it. And it's disappointing. It's really disappointing." "I don't need your approval," Lorraine shot back, but there was a shakiness to her voice now, a tremor that betrayed her crumbling confidence. "No, you don't," Kate agreed, nodding slowly. "You don't need my approval at all, but you might want to think about why you felt the need to attack me in the first place. Because I don't think this was ever really about me at all. I don't think this was about my appearance or my career or anything to do with me as a person. I think this is about something going on with you. Some insecurity, some anger, some resentment, and you decided to take it out on me." Lorraine's face went pale, then red again, color flooding her cheeks. "Get out. Just get out of my studio." "Oh, I'm going," Kate assured her, her voice steady and clear. "But not because you're telling me to. Because I'm choosing to." "There's a difference, Lorraine. There's always a difference between being pushed and choosing to walk away." Kate walked toward the exit, Jenny beside her, their footsteps echoing in the quiet studio. The audience watched in stunned silence. Several women in the front row were wiping away tears. A few audience members started to clap slowly, and then others joined in, until there was a wave of applause following them. It was the kind of applause that comes when people recognize courage. "This isn't over," Lorraine called after them, though her voice lacked conviction. Kate paused at the door. She looked back over her shoulder one last time. "Yes, Lorraine," she said quietly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. "It is." The heavy studio door closed behind them with a definitive thud. For several long seconds, nobody moved. Lorraine stood in the middle of her set, Marcus still frozen near his chair, the camera operators still pointing their lenses at her, the audience absolutely transfixed. The silence was deafening. Someone in the audience coughed nervously. A phone buzzed. The studio lights hummed overhead, suddenly seeming too bright. Lorraine tried to regain control. She turned to the camera, painting a forced smile on her face. "Well, that was certainly unexpected. Some people just can't handle real conversation, can they? Let's take a quick break." But nobody was buying it. The damage was done. The audience members weren't looking at Lorraine with sympathy. They were looking at her with confusion, disappointment, even anger. Marcus finally moved, walking slowly toward Lorraine. "What just happened?" he asked quietly. "Lorraine, what was that?" "She's too sensitive," Lorraine insisted, but her voice had lost its edge. "All I did was make an observation." "You attacked her," Marcus said. "From the moment she sat down, you attacked her. Why?" "I was being honest," Lorraine defended, but the words sounded hollow. "Honesty without kindness is just cruelty," Marcus replied. "You taught me that once. Remember? You said we had a responsibility to be kind. What happened to that?" Lorraine had no answer. She opened her mouth, closed it again, looking suddenly older, smaller. Marcus turned and walked off the set as well, leaving Lorraine standing alone. This was her colleague, someone who had worked beside her for years, and even he couldn't stand with her. The studio audience began to murmur, conversations breaking out in small clusters. People were turning to their neighbors, whispering urgently. Some were already gathering their things, ready to leave. This was not the cheerful morning show experience they had signed up for. "We're still on break," Lorraine announced to no one in particular, her voice small and uncertain. She looked around for support, but the crew members wouldn't meet her eyes. The camera operators had lowered their cameras. Everyone was avoiding her gaze. A production assistant approached hesitantly. "Lorraine, the director wants to know if we're going to continue with the show, or if we should just play a repeat episode." "Of course we're continuing," Lorraine snapped. "We have a show to do." The production assistant nodded and hurried away. But everyone knew the truth. The show couldn't continue. Not really. Not after this. The friendly, warm atmosphere that the show had cultivated for years had been destroyed in minutes. Lorraine sat back down in her chair, but it felt different now. The set that had always felt like home suddenly felt like a stage, artificial and cold. The purple and orange design that had seemed warm now looked garish under the harsh studio lights. In the audience, an older woman stood up. "Excuse me," she said loudly. "I just want to say that what I saw here today was absolutely disgraceful." Lorraine looked up sharply. "I'm sorry." "That poor woman," the older woman continued, her voice shaking. "She came here to talk about her work, and you tore her apart for no reason. My daughter struggles with her body image, and watching you do that just reinforces everything she's afraid of." Other audience members nodded, murmuring in agreement. A younger man stood up as well. "I brought my wife here for her birthday. She loves this show. Loved it. This isn't what we thought we'd see." Lorraine's face flushed. "I understand you're upset, but television is about being real, about having honest conversations." "There was nothing honest about that," another woman called out. "That was just mean." The murmurs grew louder. The careful control that Lorraine had maintained over her show, over her image, was slipping away like water through her fingers. "Ladies and gentlemen," a voice came over the loudspeaker, "we're going to need to pause the recording. Please remain in your seats for a moment." But people weren't remaining in their seats. They were standing, gathering their things, heading for the exits. Within minutes, the audience area was half empty. Lorraine sat alone on her set, surrounded by empty chairs. The lights hummed overhead, unforgiving. The cameras sat silent. This was supposed to have been a simple interview. Instead, it had become a moment that would be replayed and discussed for a long time to come. A moment where someone forgot that being on television doesn't give you the right to forget basic human kindness. Kate Winslet had walked onto that set with grace and dignity and walked off with even more. She had shown that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away, that you don't have to endure abuse just because someone has a microphone, that you can stand up for yourself, even when everyone is watching. Lorraine Kelly was left to face the consequences of forgetting that lesson, left to sit in her empty studio, surrounded by the wreckage of her own making, wondering how it had all gone so wrong so quickly.